What's up, Cameron and Daniel? How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing
Doing good,
well.
living the dream, living the dream. How you doing over there, Bradford?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm down here in Mexico and creating some business relationships for international investors.
For sure, for
But
sure.
I'm excited to be on this call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I just want to go ahead and welcome everybody. This is the Page Properties Small Talk. Again, we have a special guest, Cameron Watson and Daniel Laracy with the Watson and Mortgage Team. We're going to go ahead and learn so much about their journeys. What are they doing different here in 2025? And also, what exclusive package and programs that they have for buyers out here. So, Cameron and Daniel, can you share a little bit about your journey into the mortgage industry and how has the Laracy Watson Mortgage Team came to be?
Yeah. So for me, I've been in the mortgage business almost 19 years now. I kind of got into it by accident. I didn't know what I wanted to do after graduation, after graduating college. I got a really good opportunity in mortgage, and this was supposed to be my till I figure out what I want to do with my life job. And it turns out this is what I want to do with my life.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
So Cameron drugged me into it about 4 years ago. I'd spent about 17 years in retail management sector, home improvement, and I really enjoyed. I bought a house a few years before that, and I really enjoyed the process, and I learned a lot throughout that process. And it made me realize how much easier it is than people realize. But I've always been a numbers guy, and I enjoy that side of it and helping people build wealth. And so it all just kind of made sense, and I love what I do.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all two together makes an awesome team. And we talk about mortgage teams, right? So what sets y'all apart from other mortgage process or, affordability with other teams in the mortgage industry?
I think there's a couple things here. First and foremost, like when we partnered up, before we ever set a single goal, put a single number on paper, we really sat down and decided who do we want to be as a team and as a business, and what are our values? And we led with that. That was what was really important to us, was to work with people who have the same values as us and always be working for our clients. And so I think when you lead with that kind of mentality, the numbers follow. And ultimately, that makes your process different. Once we had established that, really for us, it was about making sure we were with the right company and having all the right programs to meet both our business partner and our clients' needs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. And let's get back to what you just said, the program and the needs of the buyers. So I've been hearing about this huge program y'all coming out with in 2025, buy before you sell program. Daniel, can you talk a little bit about, this program and how it will benefit most for buyers in this market?
Yeah, so it's really designed for those that have a home that they currently own. Maybe they're wanting to upgrade, maybe they're wanting to downgrade, maybe they just want to move to a different location. Um, and they want to buy a house, but they potentially don't want to sell their house prior to closing. But they're going to need some of that equity, some of those funds that they have in that current home. So this allows you to purchase that new home, non-contingent on the sale of your home, and then open up all those possibilities. So Cameron can kind of drive into the really specific nitty gritty of it, but that's kind of a good overview of it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
go ahead, Cameron, and explain a little bit more.
I think a couple of the really great features about this are it allows you to, just like Daniel said, buy your new home without having to sell your existing home first. So a lot of stress comes with having to buy and sell at the same time. A lot of people want to be able to find the home they want. Maybe their house is under contract or, on the market or hasn't even gone on the market yet. And they don't have time to get this house sold before they buy the new one. So this gives them both the ability to access the equity. So we give them, we call it an equity unlock. It's essentially a bridge loan. So we give them some equity from the home that hasn't sold yet. But in addition to that, they could qualify for the purchase of the new home without having to count the mortgage payment on the existing home.
Wow.
So Historically, a lot of bridge loans, they would give you the equity, but you still had to qualify using both mortgage payments. This allows you not to have to qualify using the mortgage payment. And the best part about this is once you go under contract, we give you 90 days to sell your existing home. If you don't sell your existing home, then we buy it from you. We buy it for you. We buy it from you for what you owe on it. So your first mortgage and maybe the equity unlock. But we keep it listed on the market with the agent. So Josh, if you're the listing agent, we keep it on the market with you. Then when the home sells, any of the existing equity that was in that home goes back to the home buyer. So they don't lose out on it.
Yeah. Wow. So just to reiterate what you just said, so you're saying if I am a seller, right? I can go ahead and buy the next home that I want. Like I said, if I want to go on the east side, move to the west side, or even go different cities, right? I can go ahead and do that and still have my home listed for 90 days with a potential purchase from you all and still have
Mm-hmm.
it listed. And after it sells, I still get the proceeds from that sale, correct?
Yep.
I mean, what type of program gives you that if you're not working with the Laracy and Watson Mortgage Team? Again,
Yeah.
let's talk about, I mean, are there specific requirements or qualifications that potential clients should be aware of? I mean, before they, consider this option?
Yeah, there are some specific requirements. First and foremost, it has to be a primary residence. So you have to be departing a primary residence and buying another primary residence. There are some property restrictions. So if you've got mobile home, for instance, isn't eligible. Commercial properties not eligible. I think we can go up to 2 unit, but if it's 3 or 4 unit, that's not eligible. So there are some property restrictions. And then there's some other, credit qualifying restrictions. The
Mhm.
biggest thing that I would say is that if this is a program that you're interested in doing, we want to start the application process first because it takes about 24 hours to find out how much equity you're going to get in that equity unlock program. We don't require an appraisal, but there is an algorithm that we do on the back end. I don't know what the algorithm is, but they're going to look at the area. They're going to look at how much you owe on the home. They're going to look at other comps. They're going to look at what's the average time that homes are sitting on the market. So it's not a flat, well, your home's worth 400,000, we're going to give you 75% of that. They're doing some calculation on the back end.
Mhm.
So we want to know what that calculation is and exactly how much that equity unlock is before you start going and making offers on another home.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's awesome. And I mean, when we talk about buyers, right? Let's kind of like change the topic a little here with the mortgage process, right? Could a first
Mhm.
home buyer use this, or like what are the advantages would you give a first-time home buyer to make the mortgage process less intimidating?
So it wouldn't necessarily be designed for first-time home buyer because they'd have
Okay.
to already own a property, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
For
for
sure.
your
Because you got
first-time home buyer,
to.
um, this is something that could help them potentially in the future, of course,
Okay.
because the biggest thing for a first-time home buyer is get on the stairs. And
Hmm.
so that's a lot of the conversation we're having is that you want your dream home and we want to help you get your dream home, but you got to start on that first step. And maybe that first step isn't your dream home, but it's something you can buy. You can build up some equity. And so that when you're ready to move up to that dream home or the next house that helps you get to that dream home, that, these programs will be available to you, and things like that. So that's really the biggest thing with your first time home buyers is just getting them to pull the trigger, fill out an application. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's look at what the options are. Um, and again, that was something that drove me into mortgage was I sat around for years saying I can't buy a house. I don't have 20% down, which is one of the biggest myths out there. I don't think my credit's good enough. And the whole time I probably could have bought a house 10, 15 years earlier than my first home that I purchased.
For
And
sure.
so, we're Cameron and I try not to be scary, let's look at an application. Let's talk about it. It's just a conversation. There's nothing scary about it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the win is using that Like you said, the first time homebuyer, you're a buyer for the first time. So you can't use the program until you're a current homeowner. But when you do be able to use, your asset to pay for your next asset, the key advantage to this, everyone, I think they really want to iterate is using your equity. Are you using your equity to, go on vacation? Or are you using your money and putting it to work to benefit you? And I think that is where the key component is here as we start the year of 2025. And what are some misconceptions about securing a mortgage that you would like to clear up, if I may ask?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many of them. Daniel just gave one as an example. The biggest misconception or myth is that you need 20% down. You need to have perfect credit. You need to have a ton of money in the bank. These are all myths. The really great thing that's come out of, the past few years, affordability is difficult, but banks always want to come out on top. And so what that means is that they're continuing to create these affordability programs. So one of the things that I always advise clients is one of the best steps you can take is start the process early. Maybe you think you're not going to buy a home for 6 months or a year, but start the application process because we're going to empower you with the information you need. Because if you think you need 20% down, you've got to have perfect credit. You're not even starting the application process. You're in your own head and you're kicking that can down the road. If
Mhm.
you call us, you do an application, who knows? We may look at it and go, you know what? You got a 640 credit score and you've got, only 5% down. But guess what? Right off the bat, I've got two loan programs I can put you in that qualify. And you're going, oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or maybe your credit score is a little bit too low. You don't have quite enough money yet. And that's when we're going to do what we call a mortgage action plan. We're going to tell you, here's what you need to do to get your credit up. We may partner you with a credit repair specialist that we work with that's going to help speed that credit process up. We're going to tell you, here's how much money you need to save. Or maybe you need to save a little bit of money and then we work with you as the agent to negotiate the seller to pay some of the closing costs and minimize what they need. But when you're done with that application and that conversation, you come out confident knowing I can buy a house. Maybe I can't buy a house today, but I can buy a house in 3 months. I can buy a house in 6 months. So the biggest advice I give any first-time home buyer is start the process early.
For sure, for sure. And I guess this is a question for the whole group because I mean, we combine, right? Have over 30 years of experience together. And I mean, in heading in this 2025 market, what trends do y'all see that's happening in the Savannah area market right now?
I think for sellers, they're going to have to get a little more patient. We're
Yeah.
not in 2020 anymore. Your house ain't going to fly off the market. We're hearing the buyer concerns because we, work with the buyer side.
Yeah.
Of course, unless they're selling their house, and then we talk to them about that and give our thoughts. But we're just hearing a lot of sellers upset that they put their house on the market and they don't have 10 offers the first weekend. And we're
Mhm.
just not in a market for that. On the buyer side, you got a lot of people that were, interest rates are still at historical highs over the past 20 years. Um, at some point, we hope they come down, but nobody knows exactly when that's going to happen.
Mhm.
But the biggest thing is waiting because we still, think prices are going to appreciate based on supply and demand. Waiting, you're still going to cost you more money, and that's one of the biggest things. Trying to get that, and I had that conversation with a client this morning. Is they wanted to wait 6 or 8 months, and I said, in 6 or 8 months, you're going to be in the summer. You're going to be in the prime buying season. These sellers aren't going to be offering as much concessions. If interest rates do come down, guess what? For every 1% they come down, 5 million more buyers hit the market in the nation. So you're competing with that many more people for those homes. Um, so I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now, with the regime change in the federal government. And we're all just kind of wondering what that's going to look like. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that it's not a good time to buy or it's not a good time to sell.
Yeah.
Daniel talked a little bit about competitive advantage and going back to the buy before you sell program. I think the biggest advantage there is you don't have a home contingency. So working with a lot of listings, a lot of sellers, especially, yeah, you know, Daniel's talking about, I hear people freaking out about 60 and 90 days on the market. My understanding was that 180 days is a balanced market, and we're a long ways away from being there. So it's still a good time to sell, but you want to have your competitive advantage, for a seller to be able to have this in their back pocket, that they can move forward and find their new home while they have their home on the market. It takes a little bit longer. That's a huge advantage for them coming in and making an offer on a house that they're relocating to, whether they're downsizing, upsizing, or relocating. And Lord knows people relocate for business and stuff all the time. So
Yeah.
a huge competitive advantage. And then the other plug, I got to jump in and give Cameron and Daniel, because they are a couple, what really a competitive advantage there for them is they can talk to both sides of the equation. Some people are comfortable talking to Cameron, some people are comfortable talking to Daniel. Not only is it male and female, but they're two different personality types. And they offset each other's strengths tremendously. We talked about that off air a few minutes ago. And yeah, so kudos to both of you for staying on top of the market, staying in tune with what the consumers need. And that's why I'm happy to refer people in your direction. We'll continue to do so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
For
like
sure. For sure. Oh, go ahead,
we
Cameron. You
like to
want
say
to
we're a buy one, get one free.
I
If
wish
you
we
work with
would
one
buy
of us,
one.
you get both of us.
For sure. I wish it was buy one, get three free.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if they had a third partner, that might get a little bit tight, but
Well, I was
yeah,
talking about the
starts getting
home
weird.
buying. So we're talking about the home buying process, everybody. So again, what everybody is reiterating what is happening in 2025 right now. So right now, inventory is still building up, but some people are being a little nervous of getting into the market. If you wait longer, like 6 months, 8 months, the prices of home is going to go up. Why? Because statistically, compared to last year, the volume is going up, maybe not the inventory. However, when we get closer to those hotter seasons, the inventory and volume is going to go up, and sellers are not going to be out here wanting to give five, six, $8,000 in concessions like they did last fall of 2024. And just to go ahead, we always talk about what we date the rate, we marry the payment, and then we refinance later. So could we go a little bit more into that topic on like how do y'all help navigate and fluctuate? I mean, how do y'all navigate with buyers with a market that's just fluctuating with interest rates? And how do you inform
Yeah,
them on making that decision?
we really empower our buyers with information. We
Yeah.
give them the data. For example, I have a client right now. She's looking in the $300,000 range and she's having a really hard time finding something. Her interest rate's higher than what she wants it to be. And so she said, I think I'm going to wait 6 months to a year.
Mm.
And so we put the numbers on paper for her. And I said, here's what we're looking at. Rates are at about 7% right now. I don't like it either, but it is what it is. But you're looking at 300,000 and you're having a hard time finding something you like at 300,000. If you wait until rates come down even 1%, and let's just theoretically say that happens in a year, that $300,000 home
That.
now be worth 325 to 350.
Mm.
So if you look at the payment on 300,000 at 7%, the principal and interest was something like 1860. But if she was buying a $350,000 home with a 6% interest, her payment was going to be 1925.
Wow.
So by her waiting for that rate to come down 1%, she was going to cost herself $75 a month just in principal and interest. That doesn't even take into account the fact that when you buy a more expensive home, your taxes are more, your insurance is more, your closing costs are more. So, back to your point, marry the home, date the rate. get into that home as soon as possible. When you get into that home, you've locked in that purchase price. You're not paying a higher price down the road. And then when rates come down, we can refinance and you can take advantage of those savings further. But we don't want you to ultimately end up paying more. Nobody wants to do that, right? Most buyers don't realize that that's what's going to happen. They're really rate focused and ends up costing them money down the road.
Yeah, so I'll add one more step onto that. You say, date the rate, marry the payment. I say divorce the rent. So if you're renting, get out of that relationship in a way that, with people you can trust, because you don't want to get in over your head and be some of those people that, find out they can't afford it and they got squeezed into something. But anybody who's on this call right now can be trusted that we're looking out for the best interest, and that's why we do business together. So, date the rate, marry the payment, and divorce the rent. Get out of that thing, because all you're doing is paying into somebody else's equity. And even at a 3 to 5% appreciation rate, you're losing a ton.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot more than 3 to 5%, I believe, in the last couple of years. So,
Yeah, we've been more in the 7 to 11% range, depending on, neighborhoods and areas. But
yep.
yeah, Savannah's growing exponentially and we're ahead of the curve nationally. So, I mean, now's the time.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and Josh, I'll finish up that refinance conversation and say, if you have those questions when you're getting pre-qualified, talk to your loan officer at that time. Hey, if rates drop 1%, how does that affect my payment if I refinance? If they drop 1.5%, how does that affect my payments? And be realistic about that. When rates dropped to about their lowest point in the past year in October, I talked with some clients, tried to get them a refi, could save them $150 a month, and they to them that wasn't enough savings. you know, if I could tell you that I'm wiping your Comcast bill out every month and it's not enough savings, let's try and be realistic on that. So,
Mhm.
we're probably never going to see rates in the threes again. I try and say that more often than not, because if we do, we're going to have bigger problems, and people are going to have to get, comfortable with, if they get back to five or they get back to four, take advantage of that while it's there.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Daniel, call me about that Comcast rate. I need to get that taken care of.
He has a solution for that.
Okay, good. Good deal.
Yeah, and we always talk about building relationships and trust, and knowing that y'all have a strong, process on building trust. Can y'all share us like a memorable moment or with a client that was success, like a success story where we talk about these certain situations?
Oh God, there's so many. Daniel, you want to go first?
I'll have to pick one out. The best thing I can say is referrals. And I've had the opportunity to work with um, a son who then referred me to his parents, because of the situation where, mom and dad are getting transferred here for work. Now grandma and grandpa are following them. And there's no better, a referral is the number one compliment you can get. I've had the opportunity of almost doing a whole family, brothers, sisters, mom and dad and the whole thing. So I think that really speaks volumes to knowing that you've created a very trusting relationship with your clients.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing is we're going to be transparent, and it may not be what you want to hear that we're going to tell you, but it's what you need to know.
Yeah,
And sometimes those hard conversations, I mean, they're hard. You're delivering advice that nobody wants to hear, but at the end of the day, you need to hear that. You need to understand that.
for sure.
Yeah. I think for me, one of my favorite stories happened last year, and I had a gentleman who was referred to me in January. Um, Took his application. His credit was a little too low. He didn't really have enough money saved up, but he was eligible for a VA loan. He had VA entitlement. So I did that mortgage action plan for him. He chose not to go through credit repair, but to try and work on it himself. He followed every step I gave him. And in October, he called me and he said, Miss Cameron, he said, I think my credit score is where it needs to be. I've got a little bit of money in the bank. Can we see if I qualify? That was the beginning of October. By the end of November, we had him in a home that was his dream home. And he did a VA loan, 0% financing. He paid for his earnest money. We negotiated to have the seller pay all of his closing costs. And at closing, he got his $1,500 earnest money check back. So
Wow.
he got into his dream home that a year prior to that, Every other lender had just told him, no, you don't qualify. Nobody gave him any advice. Nobody gave him a plan. And so if he didn't have that plan to follow, he might still not be in a home. Now he is.
That's
Yeah.
So
awesome.
that's really rewarding to me when we're able to help somebody who never thought they were able to buy a home to buy a home.
Yeah, and that credit report thing, Cameron, you and I have a
The credit report. Bradford's taking his time as he gets his answer, right? So, y'all, I just want to ask.
had a company that they were paying to help them with their credit repair. So it's really important that you get, if somebody's going to do something in credit repair, it's referred to by someone that you can trust. Because there's a lot of people out there. Matter of fact, while we were sitting in the living room, I said, well, what happened to them? Did you call them up, see what was going on and why you got foreclosed on? Because they were promised it was going to be saved. And they called those people. Believe it or not, those people answered the phone and said, sorry, we're not in that business anymore. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So when you're working with people, whatever you're doing, you're looking for a real estate agent, you're looking for a mortgage person, you're looking for somebody to mow your lawn, whatever it is, personal referrals are what really make it. Daniel talking about with the family coming back to him because they knew they could trust him. They knew they were going to take him in the right direction. So don't just jump on after this call and say, well, I'm going to skip Cameron and Daniel and Bradford and Joshua. I'm just going to call a credit repair guy and fix my credit.
For
Do
sure.
not. Reach
Absolutely.
out, get some opinions, do your research before you get scammed. And you could be an AI bot that you're talking to. So
Yeah.
we don't know in this world.
Yeah. Bradford, I talked to a young lady earlier this year, and she had some credit opportunities. She had some work to do, and I offered her credit repair and said, would you like to talk to someone? And she goes, oh, I've been in credit repair for 3 years. And I said, are you paying for this service? And she goes, yeah, every month. So,
Yeah,
And you
she's
wonder,
got more
what are
money,
they doing for you? It
she's got
shouldn't
more
take
money in
that
credit
long.
repair than she did paying her bills.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
the sad
there
truth.
again, making sure, it should not take 3 years if you're in the proper credit repair company, as long as you're doing what you need to do.
Well, and I'll tell you, the credit repair partner that we have, we don't get any kickbacks. We get no money whatsoever. We work with them because they are good at what they do. The girl we refer to, I call her my credit ninja. She has gotten people's credit scores up that like it has blown my mind. But we work with them because they're good at what they do and they help get people into houses. And a lot of credit repair companies, they're giving you kickbacks, they're paying you to send referrals to them. And so who you work with matters.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
didn't get a kickback, but you got a qualified buyer. So
I got a
that's even
qualified buyer.
that's even better.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. And it seems to all of us in the audience is that, the most rewarding part of, Daniel and Cameron's success story of helping people is helping them build credit report, helping them build and be able to purchase that home, breaking down the information for the buyer to be able to break down their fears and move towards that dream. And that is what is the most awesome part about this small talk. And just one little last question here before we kind of wrap it up. I mean, how can potential clients get in touch with you, Daniel or Cameron, when they want to start the mortgage journey?
Oh, do you have a pen and paper? We got lots of ways to get a hold of us. Contact us directly. Give us a call, shoot us a text message. I'm still real old school. I like to have a phone conversation. So if you want to talk, call me. Let's talk. If you prefer to do everything over text or email, I will communicate with you however you want to be communicated with. But yeah, phone number, email, social media, whatever works for you works for us.
For sure, for sure. And can you provide, maybe a social media handle or maybe a
Yeah.
general phone number, just, for the people that, are having a hard time Googling you all?
Yeah. My number, 912-341-9743.
Yeah. And my number is 912-663-3274. And I would also tell people, LaracyWatsonMortgage.com is our website. So if you want to go look into that or have any questions or wondering how to get to an application portal, that's probably the easiest way to find us.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, do anybody have one more final thought that they just want to get across as we wrap up this awesome show?
I just want to say I think there's a lot of opportunity in 2025. So if we've got home buyers and sellers that are willing to embrace that, I think we're going to see a lot of success in 2025.
For sure, for sure. And also for us at Page Properties Team, it will be a success because again, it's our job as realtors to help y'all find those deals and gems here in the 2025 season. So thank you so much, Cameron and Daniel, with the Laracy Watson and Mortgage Team. Thank you so much for coming on the Page Properties Team Small Talk. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, a fantastic week, and I can't wait to see y'all here in 2025. Y'all be safe and be blessed. Catch you on
Awesome.
the next
All right,
episode.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
Thank you all. Have a great day.